For me, it's if you're spending money on marketing, are you constantly experimenting with new ideas? So I've always said to my companies, I want a third of marketing to be experimental every quarter. Because if you're just sitting on your laurels doing the same old crap, you're missing out and your competitors are going to do something else. So start experimenting, because the value of something that works, that you find through just creative chaos, is extremely higher than what you've already been doing, because you start losing yields right away. Whatever your strategy is, and let's say you're getting a 2% response on it, watch 6 months from now it'll be 1.7 or 1.5. What's the next thing? What's the next idea? What's the next drop? What's new? Because it's so noisy out there, as you all know, you've got to keep creating, and everybody has the tools to do that.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 on Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because as a young entrepreneur, I struggled to keep my business going. I had no friends, I had no mentors, I had no role models. And the thing that saved me was learning from the success stories of famous entrepreneurs. And in their stories, I got motivation, and I also got strategies for what I could do to grow my business and not stay stuck. And I still need their stories for motivation today. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Kevin O'Leary, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is trust your gut.
I remember on the last week, the graduating class, and in those, it's sort of like an amphitheater with about 100 people in it, and you've been there for 2 years, you got your little nameplate in front, and they bring in guest lecturers to talk to you before you jump into the real world. And this guy comes in, and he says, I'll never forget it. He walks up, the professor hands him the floor, and he just goes in the middle and just looks up at everybody. For maybe like, it felt like forever, but it was really maybe 60 seconds. Didn't say a word. And the whole room, like you could have heard a pin drop. I'll never forget it. And then he says, you guys think you're so hot. You think that you've come here and you've got an MBA and you're gonna go out in the world and you're gonna rock and you're gonna be incredibly successful. I've got news for you. For 2/3 of you, the world is going to chew you up and spit you out. You have no idea what's going to happen to you. You are so irrelevant. You have proven nothing. You've done nothing. You think an MBA means something? It's worthless. And I remember the guy beside me, I'd been beside me for 2 years. And we were up in the one row down from the top so we could chat all the time.
Hide a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And so I said to him, Barry was his name. I said, Barry, this guy is such a, what an he is. What an arrogant he is. Well, guess what? He was right. He was 100% right. And the reason he pointed that out was the idea that your experiences make you who you are over time as an entrepreneur, as a parent, as a person, as whatever you are, as a brand, whatever you are. It's your experiences and how you deal with them that gives you that equity over time. And for many people, they can't make it. It doesn't work out for them. They don't have what it takes to take on the abuse that the world's going to throw at you. And just to give you full circle in a kumbaya, circle of life, Lion King kind of moment, I got caught saying the same thing a couple of months ago at the Harvard MBA group. I realized I was saying the same thing that guy said to me decades ago. I said to these kids, you're all think you're hot. Your Harvard MBAs, you are nothing burgers. You are nothing. And so there you have it. What he really explained was the idea of experience and how you have to listen to your gut to navigate the bombs of your career. And you have to trust it. You have to trust your gut. Every time I've lost dough, every time, and I've lost plenty, luckily I've had more successes than failures, is when I didn't listen to my gut, which is my experience. And I should have, and he was right. He was absolutely right. It was great information, but I couldn't assimilate it because I couldn't put it in context. Now I understand it. So number 2 is you need to build that experience and all the way through, listen to your gut. Even when you're young, your gut will tell you. You'll know when it's right and wrong. And don't go against your intuition. That is actually your radar. That's your DNA speaking to you, figuring out what the next move is going to be.
Rule number 3 is create a winning pitch.
What makes a winning pitch, in your opinion? How is that different from other pitches that don't get the funding?
Yeah, there's 3 attributes. And the reason I have this data is the show Shark Tank is on in 42 countries. Some it's the generic American tape with, voiceover to the language of that geography, and others is new productions like Canada and England and Australia and New Zealand, Brazil and Mexico, where it's called Lion's Den in Germany and Dragon's Den in Australia, whatever. It's the same idea. And it doesn't matter what geography, what language, the entrepreneurial adventure is the same. So there was a little research done about 4 years ago that took the unedited tape from all the pitches that actually got funded, did not determine the outcome of the business. They weren't looking for that. They were trying to figure out, in the period that you were engaging with the investor, what were common attributes that achieved success? So it turns out, not in just some of the cases, 100% of the cases, 3 attributes existed. Here they are. If it's the only thing you guys remember from this is it. So you should write these down. They'll serve you well in the future. And I consider these attributes the definition of leadership in any sector, because I don't care if you're a preacher, a politician, an entrepreneur, a mother, a father. No one follows you if you don't know where you're going. So here are the 3 issues. Number 1, can you articulate the opportunity in 90 seconds or less? The whole idea of presenting an opportunity is to define it very quickly. What is it that you have that could be such a great opportunity? What idea is it? But if you can't explain it, and most of the great pitches you can explain in 30 seconds. Here's what I do. This is why I'm here. This is my product. This is my service. So you only get 90 seconds for that. Now this is very important. Great ideas, and this is number 2, great ideas are a dime a dozen. What's really rare are executional skills. So now you have the ear of the investor. You could be in a VC pitch, you could be in an elevator, you could be on Shark Tank carpet, whatever. Okay, I like the idea. Why can you make it happen? What is it about you and your team that can execute on this? Do you know the sector? Have you done this before? Have you worked for a competitor? Have you failed 3 times and figured out the mistakes you made? I personally would rather invest in an entrepreneur that's failed and felt the sting of failure and is highly motivated to get out there and fix what they did wrong because they've learned from it. But that doesn't matter. What matters is to tie your executional skills to the idea so that all of a sudden you're mitigating risk for the investor. Great idea, great team, and I can feel the change in a room. In the context of Shark Tank, you can start to see all these sharks start to say, hey, what do we got here?
Yeah.
And because you have to have executional skills. But there's one more, and this one's the killer. I've seen this happen so many times. So let's put it back in the context of Shark Tank. You've beat out 100,000 applications to be one of the 240 companies that tapes. And you're there, you have your moment, you got the first one right. Everybody loves your idea. You got the second one right, you've convinced everybody that you're the right person to execute. And then this happens. You have to know your numbers. How big is the market? How fast is it growing? What's the gross margins? What's the break-even analysis? How many competitors do you have? You have to have those right on the tip of your tongue, because that is the glue that binds. If you get onto Shark Tank carpet and you've got everybody else in your deal and you don't know your numbers, you deserve to burn in hell in perpetuity, and I will personally put you there. And I've done it many times. You have to know your numbers. It's the language of business. You get those 3 right, the probability of a deal goes up geometrically higher. And it's in every single successful pitch.
Rule number 4 is learn to analyze data.
If you're walking into the C-suite and you're a marketer or a small business and you're looking for investment, what are you saying to CEOs and CFOs to convince them that this is a good place to spend money?
Well, there has been a change in investor sentiment regarding investing in small business, and here's what it is. Because of what occurred during the pandemic, this remarkable digital pivot, I call it, America 2.0, where companies that pre-pandemic, if you look at the pie chart of revenue, it would have been 50% through retail, 40% through Amazon, just another retailer, except you don't get the data from them, 10% your own website. That's completely changed. The successful companies that went through the pandemic, even Amazon went to essential goods only, if you remember, in February, March, April, and May of 2020. So those companies had to build out their own platforms and start acquiring customers. So if you look for an A round or a B round or a C round in a small business now, and you go to the investor community and say, look, I'm looking for money, the first question every investor's analyst asks you, and we're no different, do you know your CAC, your customer acquisition cost? Do you know your attrition rate of customers? Do you know the lifetime value of that customer? And are you now past 50% direct to consumer? Because when you get past 50% direct to consumer, you get something more valuable than anything. You get data, your own data, size, preference, flavor, frequency of purchase, price point, regional disparities on flavors and all kinds of sizes, and differences in people's preference. Just say the wine business, for example, what people drink in Florida is completely different than what they drink in Ohio. And if you're selling direct, which you can to 42 states now, you have that data. And that data is priceless. It's the new oil. Data is the new oil. So if your company can't analyze data, you're not collecting data, you don't even understand what I'm talking about, no chance in hell you're getting an investment. You're just going to go out of business because your competitors are so much better than you. That's what's different in the last 2 years. Data. Companies that know how to mine data and understand it, because that's the first thing we ask. If you understand your CAC, I can pour $4, $5, $6 million onto it and grow the business dramatically because we already know I'm just pouring gasoline on the fire. If you don't know, we don't even read the deck.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5 is diversify your investments.
Overall, would you say you're in total investments, are you up? Are you down? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, no, believe me, I track it. So, you know, we have a whole team that manages this portfolio of over 57 private companies. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing we've all learned on Shark Tank. Okay, we're in the middle of the season 14 right now. I'm going to be shooting next week back in LA. I don't know what I'm going to see, but it's going to be amazing because each year the deal size gets bigger because people really want to tap into that massive social media platform, 100 million plus eyeballs when you go through syndication. 8 minutes of primetime television to a third of the country. That's pretty powerful in terms of getting a product out there, and it reduces customer acquisition cost a lot. But whatever I think is the hot deal of the season, whatever I think is the number one winner that I bought and I put $300,000, $400,000 into, whatever, that's never the one that makes me back my money. I wait 2 or 3 years later, and it's some crazy piece of crap product that I thought was just a joke that ends up being a monster. And I'll give you an example. Just this year, there was a deal a few years ago called Base Paws, cat DNA.
I remember this. Yes.
You stick a swab up your cat's ass and you send it in, and it tells you, what to feed it so you can extend its life by 30%. Mm-hmm. What a stupid idea! You can buy a new cat for $5. Why would you pay $29 for a DNA test? So I bought into it because it was so crazy, so dumb, so stupid. I thought. The company just sold for over 50 million cash last month. Jesus. Because who knew that pet DNA is smoking hot? There's 110 million cats in America. And the entrepreneur, the woman, was spectacular in building up this business. She got bought out by a biotech company that wanted to have her database of DNA. And it turns out that millions of people pay $29 to extend their cat's life. That I'm not one of them, but who cares? It was a fantastic investment. My point is you just don't know. So you need diversification in how you spread your bets out there.
Rule number 6 is improve your financial literacy.
The one thing that I think we failed as a society on, because you're getting into an area that I spend a lot of time on here, is financial literacy. We have failed an entire generation. There's 100 million people in America that have, and some of them are in their 60s, that have nothing set aside for their retirement. They never were taught how to invest. There's a big difference between saving and investing. A savings account gives you nothing now. Interest rates are basically zero. The markets give you 6 to 8% a year, but you got to learn how to harness them. Nobody teaches those kids anything. And that's it's a good segue into something I want to talk to you about called bean stocks, which is a big initiative for me to build a robo that invests like I do and like my mother did, a really conservative robo that you can download and actually tries to help you do this without you understanding how to buy and sell stocks. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, well, what is it? How do we get it?
So you download it off any phone, on any app store, and the whole idea, here's what I learned. The first time I took a stab at this, I assumed that everybody knew how to buy a stock and sell it and how to build a diverse portfolio. I was 100% wrong. I brought out an incredibly sophisticated product, but 99% of people don't actually invest directly themselves. Some massive percentage of the population don't do that. They either have an advisor or they don't have an advisor because they don't have a lot of money, and so we ignore them. If somebody only has $400 to put aside a month, generally the financial services industry ignores them because they can't make any money off them, and that's 100 million people. So I helped a whole team develop Beanstalks, and there's a zillion different robos on the market, and I think anything that helps you invest is great. But I couldn't find anything that invested with my personal philosophy. And so, I really wanted something that was about value, about getting paid dividends, so get paid to wait, conservative in nature, and above all, diverse. And so I like to use exchange-traded funds. I use that in my own family trust, and that's what we built Beanstalks around. So the whole idea is that you put aside $100 a week, and if you're in your, early 20s and you do this, you find the discipline. It's about $100 aside a week. And that's the hardest part, by the way, because there's always some piece of crap you want to buy that you don't need. But you put it into Beanstalks, and it automatically diversifies it into a portfolio designed specifically for you when you set it up. And so you can put projects that you want to, maybe you want to buy a car or a house, it helps you do that. It helps you just diversify into a wide range of ETFs. And it's a place where you build a nest egg. That's the whole idea.
Rule number 7 is have a plan.
You have to have a plan in your life for what's going to happen to you when you hit your 60s and 70s and 80s, and maybe by then your 90s, because people are living longer all the time. How do you get a nest egg together? Well, the average salary in America is around $58,000. And so I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. You have to start saving in your early years, in your 20s, $100 a week, minimum. But it's not just the saving aspect. You've got to invest that money. So you have to take that $100 out of whatever your activity is, or you're going to start a side hustle. Maybe you're going to be a photographer, maybe you're going to be a writer, maybe you're going to do something else, a separate job where you can make at least, $100 a week after tax, and you're going to invest it. You're not going to save it, you're going to invest it. Saving is what you have in cash. Investing is what you put into the market. Now, the market is a volatile thing is the first question, made reference to. And when you invest in the stock market, what matters is diversification. You don't know which stocks are going to go up and down or when. You don't know which sectors of the economy are going to outperform the others. You have no idea. But if you look over a long period of time, what you see is a market, a stock market, that returns around 6 to 8% a year. And if you start to put aside $100 a week in your early years, you're going to end up with, if the markets do what they did for the last 100 plus years, you're going to end up with about $1.5 million when you're 65. That is really important.
Rule number 8 is overcome self-doubt.
How did you overcome self-doubt? Or do you have doubt now? And what do you do to help yourself overcome that so that you can have confidence in your day-to-day life?
I think everybody has doubts, and I was dyslexic when I was young, so I had a lot of problems with that, just learning how to read and keep up in school. But I didn't let it get in my way. By the way, Damon also has dyslexia, so these are things you have to start treating a different way if you're going to overcome them. But the way I look at it now is, okay, I talked about the lying thing, so I'm not going to lie to anybody, and that's going to cause me a various amount of problems, but I don't care. And then let's say I'm doubting an investment I'm going to make. Well, I've learned that don't bet the farm. In other words, only put up capital you can afford to lose, and then you know that if your assumptions are wrong. So I don't use debt. I don't have any debt. I don't want to have debt. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to owe anybody anything. But if you're being honest with people and you're being diverse in terms of how you invest, you want to win, of course, and you want to be successful. But what's the worst case? I say to myself, if I can stay healthy and I can get some of these investments right and I'm enjoying what I do with the cooking, the photography, the music and all that stuff, what else can I do? Like, I mean, this is the way you're supposed to spend your life. And then one day they turn off the lights, you take your watches and you go away. That's what happens. And that's going to happen to me too. But at least when people look back, they'll say, well, the guy didn't lie to me. I made money with him. And he can cook some good stuff. I mean, I look at it that way. You got to be pragmatic. Mm-hmm. So I'm not that worried about, and this comes over time. I mean, somebody said to me, don't you worry what people think about you? And I actually thought about that for a while, and I thought, no, I don't. I just don't.
Did you used to?
Yeah, I think I did, and I think that really contorted me. I think as long as I'm telling the truth, I don't worry about it. I've said that countless times now, but why would I want to stress myself out worrying about what someone thinks about me? What benefit for either they or I is that energy? That's a complete waste of time.
Rule number 9 is spend within your means.
So let's talk a little bit right now, because people are dealing with Con Edison or their utility bills.
Yeah.
Things are high.
They are.
Can you save a little money with electricity? What can you do?
It's tough because core inflation, electricity, and food, those are the two, energy, gasoline, electricity, they're really naggingly high, above 6%, and they're staying there right now. The key is to be careful on what you spend every day. And it's sort of like when you go to buy something, and I tell my kids this too because my mother taught me this, there's a lot of stuff you buy you don't need. You go look in your closet, there's all kinds of crap you bought you don't use.
Right.
Well, that's money that's dead. So if you're going to buy something nice, like a coat or a sweater or a new pair of pants, make sure it's really good quality and buy one of them and use it. Like, absolutely wear it.
Europeans do that. I noticed.
Yes, they have their
they'll buy one really nice thing, and they'll wear it to death.
Yeah, so they buy fewer things, higher quality. Even their closets, like they have 4 pair of shoes, not 40. Like it's sort of, and if you look at what you wear most of the time, I've got 2 pair of jeans. I've got these suits, which my Shark Tank outfit. I've got 25 of these jackets because I wear them out so much, but I never change my outfit. It's like a uniform. But I know what I'm spending all the time. And even very wealthy families, and I tell everybody to try this, take a piece of paper. You don't need a computer. Write down the money you made in 3 months, 90 days. And on the other piece of paper, how much you spent in the same 90 days. Most people outspend their income, even wealthy families. It's a great exercise. And where does that debt end up? On credit cards at 21%. So if you're not paying off your credit card, you're paying 21% interest. This is the killer in America, the silent killer. That's what I call it. You gotta spend within your means. Suck it up and do it.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is never quit.
Quiet quitting, a temporary pandemic hangover, byproduct of low unemployment, or a long-term thing?
You know, Shep, the economy's changing. Obviously, we're going into a whole new metric where some people work at home, some people work at distance, some people go back to the office. We don't know how it's going to shape out in the long run. It's more project-based. In other words, you're hired and you're trusted to finish things off. Now, some ideas are bad ideas, and some ideas are stupid ideas, but very rarely can you combine both. And that's what we have here. This is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in launching a career. And what I'm hoping I can do, and I've told the recruiters, because I've got about 10,000 people inside of the companies that we're investors in, plus the supply chains, I've asked them, can we identify these people early and help them get jobs with our competitors? Because this is the most competitive weapon I've ever seen. If you're a quiet quitter, you're a loser. You're un-American. That's what I think.
Workers are so in demand. We started talking, I don't know, a year and a half ago about how power to the workers, power to the workers. This is part of that, right?
It could be, but really your job is to find something you're passionate about and find a way to work with your team. Really, it's about culture. You know, I'm an investor in small business in America, 50 to 500 million. That is 65% of our economy. These are family businesses. You build a culture. When you bring somebody in that slams shut their laptop at 5 o'clock, you're introducing a cancer into your culture. Eventually, you're going to have to do surgery and cut it out. The whole idea would be avoid these people. I don't know where this started. It's the worst idea I've ever heard because it's against what we do in business. We try and build teams that work together to achieve something, set objectives and work together. It doesn't matter whether you're working anymore at 6 a.m. or 2 in the morning. You're just getting your job done. That's the freedom the economy's giving you now on a distance basis. Nobody's asking you to work 9 to 5. They're asking you to get your job done. If you walk in your interview and say, I only work from 9 to 5 and then I stop working, I can't wait to get you into my competitor. Help me find these people. This is like a virus. This is worse than COVID.
My advice to people that want to be mavericks is put your blinders on, focus on what you want to achieve, and don't listen to all the noise. That noise is horrific and just really, really bad. And it's always going to be eating at you, but you've got to stay focused on the goal. I was taught that years ago by a mentor, and it's absolutely true. Stay focused. Don't let distractors bother you. Don't let them get you down. And invariably, you're going to be kicked to the ground as a maverick or an entrepreneur or anybody that's trying to achieve their own freedom, but you got to get up and keep going. When you meet with people that can help you grow your career or get your objective done or help you with your mandate, think about it this way, because this is advice I give to everybody that's trying to get a job or move up or even advance their own business. If you had 15 minutes with somebody you wanted to work with and you talk about yourself for those 15 minutes, that's a mistake. What you should be talking about is how you can solve problems for them. All the hires in my companies and the people I hire within my own, venture capital firm and private equity firm are people that came to me with really short resumes, basically one line saying, I need to meet you because I'm going to solve some big problems for you and help you build your business a lot faster. That's it. I'm interested. I want to hear what you have to say. I don't care where you went to high school, what the name of your dog was. I couldn't care less. But if you've done some work and you can tell me how you can advance what I'm trying to do, you're hired, Kendall. And then I'll give you 6 months to go prove it. Do that all the time, and it really works. Think about that. Think about talking to people about how you can affect their outcome. How do you get to the next level? You hire amazing people, and you give them a piece of the upside. Very hard to do in a services business like yours, but not impossible. Scale is everything. You want to get bigger. The only way you're going to do that is expanding on being just a one-man show. And that's tough. Finding the right partners that should augment your skills. If you're great at one thing like sales and marketing, get someone who's better in logistics or hiring people that can actually do more of these websites. I've always found in every one of my deals that made me money, it's the team I built. A fantastic team of people working together towards a single mission. The better the people, the more money I made. It's that simple. But I always gave up some to them so they were part of the story. And I always found, even if I gave up half, which I did in the case of the learning company, that outcome was $4.2 billion. So I was pretty happy with the outcome in the long run. It's all about team. It's really hard to do it on your own. And building a team, you have to build it slowly and find the right partners and then give them some of the upside.
What are some of the telltales that you have seen over your years that tell you this person isn't right? I have to let her or him go.
That's a good question, and I'll answer it with an analogy of fact. I carry 2 phones with me. This small one is only known by my family and very, very close friends. And when it rings, I'll always answer it because it has to do with something going on with my kids or my family or my brother or whatever. This phone, this larger one, probably 10,000 people have this number. I'm a believer that if you are an entrepreneur or a major shareholder of a company, every single customer should know if they have a problem who they can call. And when I say this concept of access, in other words, many managers think, well, if I give my number out to my employees, they may call me. and the truth is, you want to hear from them. You want to hear the bad news first. And what I found is the more people I give this number to, the less it rings. I tell them simply, look, I want you to have this access because I respect you, and I want you to know that you can come to me. And in that trust, I find that most people never use it. This thing does not ring as much as my family phone does. But when it rings, it's a big deal. And the reason I know it's time to terminate somebody in one of my companies is when my customers and my shareholders call me 3 times about that person. Mm-hmm. It's always the same. Mm-hmm. It's always the same. When a customer's complaining about a CEO or a head of sales or the head of R&D
or employees are not happy. And I keep getting that phone call. I get on the plane and I get my whacking stick out because there's something wrong. Hold back. You have to wait and see what happens. You have to let things develop. You can't just jam everything. It doesn't work that way. You learn that through experience, and it's so important that you understand you must be patient with people, you must be patient with plans, you must be patient with everything. You can't get what you want right away. It just doesn't work that way. People that are patient are incredibly effective because in the long run, they get stuff done. You have to kind of sit back and assess things. That's what patience is. It's an assessment of your situation. If you come and tell me, you're the CEO, you're the founder, you're the largest shareholder, that you know and you're perfect at everything, I know you're full of crap. That is so not true. Great entrepreneurs know their weaknesses and surround themselves with solutions. The logistics person, the marketing person, the accounting person, the saleswoman, the salesman. Do not lie to the customers. Don't lie to your employees. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to anybody, your shareholders even. Take the pain, take the hit, admit the mistake you made, and you will build a relationship, particularly with customers. What we're learning online is if you have a direct relationship with a customer and you're honest with them and you tell them, hey, the product's going to be delayed, or sorry, you got a bad product, we'll replace it, we'll give you your money back, whatever it is, that communication ends up being very, very valuable over time. Those customers stay loyal. We've learned that 100-fold in our companies now. And now we're, across the portfolio, we're now at 48% direct of revenue to customer. That's magic, Gary. That's friggin' magic. Because that's 100% gross margin business. I have failed a lot. Many failures. I can give you some. I just gave you one earlier. I lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least on paper, for a long time shorting Yahoo. That was a big mistake. Stupid of me to do that. Then I started a business. I've started many startups when I was an operator that actually failed. One was involved with one of the giant cable companies, and I probably spent about 18 months on that. Made no money, lost a lot. I think in that case about $750,000. Ouch, that hurts. It really stung. I've invested in other deals. Some were friends, some were other business associates that went to zero. Generally, in a startup, I'll put up about $250,000 and wait and see what happens, then put more in. And there was one that I put $250 into, and then within 6 months they needed more money. Even though my gut was telling me don't invest in it, I put another $250, and within 6 months, lost another $500,000. I've made many mistakes, but I learn from my mistakes. That's the key. I am not going to be successful in everything I do. And I want you to embrace that idea as an entrepreneur. You are not going to be successful all the time. You will make many, many mistakes. And it's okay. It's okay as long as you learn from it. Now, I don't make the same mistakes anymore. I make new mistakes. I learn from those again. And that's what's called experience. The difference between when you start your career and when you get to the middle of it in the end is all the mistakes you've made and what you've learned from them. And the older you get, the more you've learned. And that's the whole idea. And when I work with young entrepreneurs today and with my teams and my companies, I try and explain to them the mistakes I've made so they don't make the same ones. That's the whole idea. But I've made millions of dollars of mistakes. And I once ran as a politician and lost millions of dollars doing that. Was that a mistake or was that a learning experience? I still haven't decided yet. But it's sort of those experiences in life are made up. The patina of life, the rust of life, the coating of life is all the experiences, not just the successes, but the failures you've made. Now, do I like losing money? No. Do I cry like a baby when it happens? Yes. Because I know how hard it is to make it. Really hard. And I hate to lose it. But I make sure that I distill the essence of that lesson. That's very, very important.
Business is competitive. Get over it. It's a form of war in some ways. And you will never, ever, ever get everybody to like you, ever. And if you spend your time worrying about that, you will fail for sure. You can't care about what people think. As long as you think you're doing the right thing,
they'll end up respecting you. They may not like you. That's certainly my situation. I don't care if you like me. I care that you respect me and that I am being honest with you about what I expect you to do for me if you're working for me or if I'm investing in you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to get up in the morning understanding there's some guy in Mumbai or Shanghai or somewhere in China that wants to kick your ass and is coming for you 24/7, because it's true. But if you can deal with all that, you'll be okay. I'll tell you something, nobody has a monopoly on great ideas. Nobody. There's always somebody with a problem that needs to be solved, and that is the essence of a great business opportunity. Look around you in the world and see the problems people are having. Keep your eyes open, and when you discover one that you think you can fix, that is the beginning of a business, my friend. That's how it starts. So don't be down and don't say that all the great ideas are taken. That's never the case. There's always the next great idea, and that's what's wonderful about being an entrepreneur. You got to keep sort of your mind open and your eyes open and always be looking for opportunity. And don't be depressed. I don't like that tone. Let's get happy and let's get focused and let's get to work. And by the way, the greatest companies ever started were many that were started with no money. It's not about money, it's about solving somebody's problem. If you can solve a problem, you can start a business, even with no cash. You're going to provide as much as you can for the little as you can to start it and prove it out. You get a product or service that people are buying and they're saying this works for me or solving a problem. That's the beginning of a great journey.
Do you believe there's such a thing as work-life balance?
No, I don't buy that. And I tell my entrepreneurs, if you're going to take that life and you want to be an entrepreneur and build a company, there is no work-life balance. You sacrifice your personal life to pay for freedom later in life. When you're young and you're working, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, you're giving up the soccer game if you have kids, you're giving up the picnic and all that stuff, but you're doing it so that when you're in your 50s and 60s, you choose to do whatever you like. Now, I retired for 3 years, and my mandate for that 36-month period was to visit every beach on earth. Every beach that was legendary. In Cambodia, in Cyprus, in Tunisia, I hit them all. I got really bored. Making your own decisions all the time, you're going to find out without any kind of feedback, you can be wrong. And there's nothing wrong with another opinion, another voice that you can listen to that would give you some great advice. Now, you can change mentors as life changes, as your circumstance change, but you should have one in your life. Could be an older brother, could be a sister, could be one of your parents, could be somebody completely random. My first mentor in business was a guy named Jerry Patterson, who was actually a lawyer and a hockey agent. A guy that would bring over Russian hockey players to the original six in Boston, Philadelphia, Detroit. I mean, how random can that be? But he was really focused about business. He gave me some great lessons in life. And then later in life, I turned to my stepfather, George, who was phenomenal in helping me through building, some of my businesses. And the point is, there was always somebody to go to. And the great thing about a mentor is, you can be completely honest with them. Generally, they have your best interest at hand. So that's very important.
I'm a manager at 19 years old. Lately, I've been running into some problems with some staff being insubordinate when asking them to do simple tasks. I'm not sure how to go about disciplining them. What makes it a bit awkward for me is that I'm probably the youngest person in my organization, or one of the youngest. So often I find people disregard my authority. Can I go around this the right way?
Reza, 19-year-old manager. Born to lead, my friend. That's what it sounds like to me. 19 years old. Here's the key to being a successful manager. People don't have to like you. They have to respect you. And you have to respect them too. Great managers in life, and I've gone through this in my career, you don't have to like the people that work for you, but you have to show them respect and they have to reciprocate that. In managing companies, it's all about respect. And it's primarily setting goals for people and asking them to buy into those goals and agreeing with you that those are achievable and giving them at least 3 months to go achieve them. So I wouldn't get worried about the social impact or the concerns about being a manager at 19. It doesn't matter how old you are, it's irrelevant. It matters if people are willing to follow you, respect you, listen to you, work with you, and set goals together that you both achieve. If you can do that at 19, you are a friggin' rock star, my friend. And I have a sense that maybe you are. But remember, show respect. And respect something that you don't have, experience. Because when you're 19, you don't have any of that. So if you meet somebody that's working for you that's a lot older, respect what they know that you don't. It's all about respect.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from Mark Cuban, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
How do you identify what's next? You know, I just read a lot, right? I'm just one of those guys that just consumes information, mostly tech, but it could be anything. Steve Jobs had this one quote that really stuck with me. He said, everything's a remix. And if you look at the early days,